So now we have the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard actually traced their time back to actual formation of August 4th, 1790. Alexander Hamilton wrote like a decree having what was called then the Revenue Cutter Service. As I mentioned earlier, the Navy had been disbanded after the Revolutionary War, so at that time we had no one who was collecting taxes or tariffs in the ports of entry into the United States. And so once they became their own branch under the Treasury Department, we had them collect the roughly $70 million debt that was incurred for the Revolutionary War, and that was between 1790 and 1797. Below, well, let's just look at the main figure, who was Massachusetts militia uniform. And so the Coast Guard likes to say they trace their time back to the lighthouse of 1714, 1750 in Boston. So they feel that they're the oldest contiguous branch of service. Just below that figure, you'll see a rescue scene that actually happened off of Cape Hatteras in October of 1896, and it was an all African-American team. It's a very famous scene for the Coast Guard, but also it's important to know that in 1915, the Revenue Cutter Service and what was known as the United States Rescue Service became the United States Coast Guard in a decree signed by Woodrow Wilson at the time. So the Coast Guard is always ready. They always say, we are always in training, we always go out, we may never come back, but we are on a mission. And so they also are in charge of guarding all the waterways. So we look at the 3,500 plus miles of shoreline. We look at the three great rivers, the Mississippi, Missouri, and Ohio. We look at the 5 Great Lakes. So they really have a huge responsibility in that regard. And then we have the Duluth Split Rock Lighthouse, because up until recently they were in charge of all the lighthouses. You notice that there is a buoy behind the left of the standing figure. They were in charge of all the buoys. They also are in charge of environment. So we see a whale, a polar bear, and a bird. And down below, you'll notice that there are 5 bales of marijuana. Well, in a lot of states now, it's become legal for medical purposes, but Coast Guard is generally responsible for about 52% of all of the drug busts that go on around the, continental waters, etc. Below that, we see a Medal of Honor. There was a gentleman, Monroe, who received the Medal of Honor in Guadalcanal, and then there's a little tribute to the Merchant Marine. The Merchant Marine, that patch with the eagle and the little shield there, were actually active from 1942 to 1946, and if we from there shoot straight up, you'll see a ship by the iceberg. That was a Liberty class ship that was used a lot by the Merchant Marine during World War II. Now we'll drop back down to the lower right-hand corner of the painting. We'll see a lady diver. So we see she's actually Asian in descent. So again, talking about the cultural diversity that exists within the American military. And then we have a fireman. We have an African-American who is kind of fulfilling duties like the Navy SEALs, because after 9/11, Coast Guard took on additional responsibilities, and so a lot of them did train with the SEALs. Then we have a tribute to the Academy with a woman playing taps, and then we have someone climbing up the Golden Eagle, which is a 4-mast ship, I believe, that was a war treasure after World War II that the Americans got from the Germans, and so the Coast Guard took over that ship. And we then see a submarine, and unbeknownst to a lot of people, the Coast Guard are the people that guide in the nuclear-powered submarines when they surface, because once a nuclear-powered submarine surfaces, that's when it's most vulnerable. And so that is the Coasties' duty, as they call them. So you'll see them with their helicopters flying overhead, and they have a couple of big ships that are called SUVs, oddly enough, and they are like these big walls that flank the either side of the submarine, because it's at that point that a dirty bomb, a Stinger missile, would be could shoot at one of the silos, and it would create a dirty bomb with the explosion. Then, of course, we have 9/11, and you see, we know what happened after that. We have then the Statue of Liberty, because as we know, the Coast Guard does take care of immigration, well, now through the Department of Homeland Security, because they now are under the Department of Homeland Security, which I think is the 5th branch they've actually been underneath. One final comment I'd like to make as you look at all these paintings, you will notice that the landscapes and backgrounds of all these have a lot of different components, and it's that allegorical element that I use to describe, because it's pretty obvious that from Split Rock Lighthouse, we do not see icebergs, we do not see New York City up in flames.
Okay.
That was great.
You were like within, you're within 15 seconds on all of them.
Okay.
One way or the other. So I mean,